Now, our very own Tom Basile, former Trump campaign aide and author of Wicked Game, Rick Gates, and trial attorney Joe Tacopina. I'm going to start with you, Tom. Your take on how this all plays out politically.
Yeah, well, first of all, it really amazes me that, Joe Biden's been in government for over half a century, and all of these politicians, when you have outrage, remember all the stuff he said after the Mar-a-Lago raid, he was so outraged about the mishandling of classified information. You got to make sure that those comments age well, and they haven't. And so today is actually a really good day for Donald Trump, frankly, because I think that it's far less likely that you'll see a Trump prosecution come out of this over Mar-a-Lago than now that we have this special counsel, now that this has happened. So I think that this is probably a very good development overall for the Trump campaign. My question on all of this is the timing of it. Joe Biden was supposed to go to St. Croix. He was going to meet with his advisors and make a decision on 2024. He comes out of that, and all of a sudden now we have this incident that really could cast a pall over the campaign, over the fact that he wants to seek a second term, because what we're hearing out of Washington is he had made the decision that he was going to run. So is this a political hit to one degree or another? I think that there's the timing of this is very suspect to me.
Yeah, let's continue that conversation in just a moment, but I did want to make sure we underscore the legal importance of this. So, Joe Tacopina, I wanted to ask you, are there laws being broken from what we know of the situation with Mr. Biden?
They could very well be. I mean, it depends on the intent. Was it intentional? Was it knowingly done? How it could not be knowingly done, I don't know. But, that's why a special counsel has to be appointed. This cannot be investigated by the Biden Justice Department. I mean, the appearance would be horrific. And what was just said is a terrific comment. Biden's comments did not age well. He was outraged and he was, appalled and shocked. And then when, they asked him about it, he said, it was an oversight. It wasn't a big deal. And my Corvette was in the garage of my Corvette. He kept repeating the word like Corvette, like as if that was a guard dog for the documents or something. And the bottom line is the appointment of special counsel means there are extraordinary circumstances in this case. And there are. But I do agree, this absolutely really insulates Trump from a criminal prosecution, because then it will look like just a political hit. I mean, how hypocritical would it be if they were to charge Donald Trump, but the president, whose Justice Department's in charge of charging, would not be charged? It was a good day for Donald Trump, and it's funny to see what do they say, the pot calling the kettle black. I think this was a good example of that.
Rick Gates, your take on all this?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm going to offer a counterpoint to Tom and what Joe said. I think there's a chance that Merrick Garland, DOJ, goes after both Biden and Trump. I think this is a way that Democrats see a path to remove Biden, those people that aren't comfortable with him running again for obvious reasons, and then certainly at the same time being able to find a way to make sure Donald Trump doesn't win as well. So there's a lot of kind of talk, who's pulling the strings behind Biden operation? Is it somebody inside the Biden administration itself? Is it somebody like George Soros, who doesn't want to see Biden run again? I think there are other dynamics that are at play. The timing is incredibly suspect. Notice this obviously didn't happen right before the midterms. It happened right after. And now we're in a period of time where there's a lull before the presidential election gets started and kicks off. And you have time to kind of clear the field for other Democrats to jump in if they can remove Biden.
Yeah. So he's going along with you on the palace intrigue. Essentially, Tom, it wasn't Biden knowing that he had these and releasing them at a certain time. But the timing, just to underscore this, the timing of all of this is what's so suspicious. The first release, when they found these documents, it was right before the election. We didn't find out. Then they had some found in December. We didn't find out about those until a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And let's go to Karine Jean-Pierre and John Kirby at the White House and see if she answers questions.
We've seen the breaking news reports of the tornado damage in Selma. First, our hearts and thoughts go out to the Selma community and everyone impacted by the storm. Our team here is monitoring and assessing the situation and reaching out as appropriate to local and state officials to offer our support. And before I start and turn over to my colleague who is going to be giving you all a preview of the bilat that the president's going to have with the Japanese Prime Minister, and also do a preview of next Tuesday with the president's bilat with the Prime Minister of Netherlands, I just want to say a couple of things. And make sure that everyone saw this. It's a statement from Richard Sauber. His statement reads, as the president said, he takes classified information and materials seriously. And as we have said, we have cooperated from the moment we informed the archives that a small number of documents were found, and we will continue to cooperate. We have cooperated closely with the Justice Department throughout its review, and we will continue that cooperation with the special counsel. We are confident that a thorough review will show that these documents were inadvertently misplaced, and the president and his lawyers acted promptly upon discovering of this mistake. With that, my colleague is here, John Kirby, to talk through the bilat tomorrow, and also with Japan Prime Minister, and also the bilat with the Prime Minister of Netherlands next Tuesday. And then I'll come back.
All right, so as we're watching this unfold, I don't mean any disrespect to the retired Rear Admiral here, John Kirby. They're avoiding the elephant in the room, which that elephant's going to start stomping in a few minutes after the Admiral is finished. But your thoughts here, Tom?
Yeah, look, I think that one of the problems that this White House faces is that this was actually worse than what Trump was accused of doing for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
we're dealing with a vice president who does not have the ability to declassify documents. Presidents have the ability, are the ultimate declassification authority. We heard the Trump team talk about this after the Mar-a-Lago raid, that he had the ability to take these documents and declassify them. We also know from the evaluation that these were not documents, the Mar-a-Lago documents were not documents that were of high classification importance. These were not documents of some great national security interest. We're not really sure at this point why a former vice president would have documents on Ukraine, Iran, UK, and maybe other matters. And so
we don't know why he would have any on Ukraine.
Why would he have that, particularly when it comes on Ukraine?
Yeah.
People are going to be asking those questions. So the other thing is, too, Mar-a-Lago is a secured facility. It is protected by the United States Secret Service. They were asked to put any documents that they had under lock and key. They complied with that. And if you've ever been to Mar-a-Lago, you can't just walk in. Now, I know the mainstream press, they wanted to make it sound like Donald Trump was like giving these things out like cigars in the dining room or at the bar, and he wasn't. These were in a very secure area within Mar-a-Lago. This stuff is in a garage, and it's also been found in a university office in an organization that is funded in part by China.
But it seems like the palace intrigue thing that you and Rick Gates, if Rick is still with us here, is I think, Rick, you're suggesting that you can't charge one without charging the other. I mean, maybe you could. You're suggesting a scenario in which you wouldn't, the former president, but you would.
Well, there's a difference between the two cases.
I'm sorry to interrupt there, but I was going to say, but Rick's actually said he thinks both.
That's what I'm
will
saying.
be prosecuted,
Rick thinks both would
but
be.
in order to get rid of both of them as candidates for 2024.
But by the way, that would mean charging a sitting president, which, to my mind, has that ever been done? You're the lawyer, Tom.
I mean, I don't see that happening.
Okay, so your scenario is neither. Well, politically, this
politically neither, but this is being that it is worth a conversation about the timing of this and whether or not there is some palace intrigue with or a Game of Thrones going on within the Democratic Party where they want to prevent Biden from running again, because it appears he's decided to do that.
Rick, I want you to chime in on this.
Yeah, and when you boil it all down, let's just think about this. At the end of the day, they have committed the same underlying alleged crime, both of them. So you cannot start choosing. I mean, Merrick Garland certainly can, but I think the weight of the world would come crashing down on him. And I think that what you're going to have is a scenario of either, as Tom said, both not getting charged, or I think both leading to some sort of charges against them. I agree a sitting president's never been indicted before. It'll call into question, whether or not that can happen. May go to the Supreme Court, we'll see. But at the end of the day, I think there is a basis for Democrats that would like to see Biden removed and Trump not run. This is a great way to try to make that happen.
Yeah, Joe, you're the attorney here. Talk some sense into us.
Yeah, I think I agree with Rick to some degree, but the documents are very different. What we know about the Trump documents, Mar-a-Lago documents, they are not high-level documents. They are not national security documents. What we hear here so far may be a completely different set of documents. And the fact that they're in a garage with a car is, and if that were those documents in that video, it's nauseating because they look like they're trash ready to be taken out. I mean, Mar-a-Lago, I've been to Mar-a-Lago. It is a fortress. And I think Rick said it, or maybe it was Tom, but it is the Secret Service all over the place. That is as secure as anything I know. So I don't think there's really a comparison to be made between garage documents, a university office that's open to whomever, the janitor or anyone else, and Mar-a-Lago as far as security. As far as the quality of the documents or the importance of the documents, right now everything's leaning towards the Biden documents being much more significant than the Trump documents. Okay, we're in day 3 of this investigation, so it's going to take a while. But to me, honestly, I could see charges being brought against Biden and not Trump. In reality, that's probably never going to happen because he's a sitting president and because of the whole political, backlash on all this. But to me, this is
a conversation about you step down, and then there's a pardon by I've seen that happen before.
I happen to think that the thing that the American people will be far more interested in is why we don't know.
Tom, we need to go to KJP and the Admiral. Let's listen to Karine Jean-Pierre.
And that hasn't changed. The Republic of Korea has made clear that they are not seeking nuclear weapons. But what we are going to seek jointly together with them are...
All right, they're answering that. We'll continue the conversation. We obviously want to hear questions regarding this topic.
Absolutely.
So continue, Tom.
So I think that for the American people, this whole scenario has now dragged back up the contributions from Communist China to the Penn Biden Center and the University of Pennsylvania's absolute refusal to identify those donors. Those donors are anonymous. So you now have a former vice president working at a major institution of higher education in a center where a lot of people don't really even know what it did, taking tens of millions of dollars from anonymous Chinese donors.
Now that went to UPenn.
Right.
That went to UPenn. But it has been suggested that money has also been directed.
Just in all fairness to the center. Go ahead.
Right, I was going to say, in all fairness to the center, the Penn Biden Center has specifically stated they have never solicited or received any funds from the Chinese government. So they are on record saying that. University of Pennsylvania, along with Harvard and many other American universities, have gotten billions of dollars from China. We just don't know.
Which is an issue, I think, for a lot of people. But it forces us to start talking about this again.
Sure.
Right? And the people who made $250,000 for, what could have been no-show jobs, how much money Joe Biden made for showing up on campus.
Didn't he make something like $900,000 over 2 years?
Oh, over 2 years for what? Antony Blinken was involved in all of this, a whole bunch of folks that are in the White House now. And you now have documents that were kept there, clearly not in a government facility, that could have to do with, significant issues of national security. So again, it's the conversation, I think, even more than the crime. And how it potentially, as you had said earlier, sort of can encumber a presidency if this is the type of thing that goes on for a while.
Yeah, but Tom, I'm going to point out 2 quick things that's very interesting in terms of this development. And now that a special counsel has been appointed, it gives the White House cover to be able to come out and not actually comment on it. And secondarily, it's going to hurt Congress's ability to actually investigate some of the material. So anything that might be linked to Biden now, they are going to have a hard time subpoenaing different people.
And by the way, didn't they promise they were going to investigate Hunter Biden?
Yes, they did.
And didn't he have some documents related to Ukraine, according to reports?
Just a few.
Biden did, yes. President Biden.
people can connect the dots. It's not our job, but
It's not
we ask
difficult
the
to
questions.
connect those dots either. Yeah.
So that's why we have you guys here, is to connect the dots. You gentlemen, thank you so much. Tom Basile and Joe Tacopina and Rick Gates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
And coming up, we'll continue the conversation. More classified documents.